Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Wayne Hutchinson, a recent acquaintance. Wayne's a serial entrepreneur. He has 300 employees under management. He's branched out into several different sectors with his business. So today I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thanks for taking the time to join me, Wayne.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's my first one. So I hope I can deliver for you. And I hope I can add some value to the listeners and everybody around.
I'm sure you will. Looking forward to this podcast.
Fantastic. Me too.
So walk me back a bit. You started your business in South Africa. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. I started my business in South Africa, or say businesses in South Africa. Started out about 9 years ago. Normal lad, gone through the normal ropes of, studying undergrads and then going honors and levels, et cetera, from an education perspective. I was working as a financial advisor for a firm in South Africa at that point in time. And then I was approached by the competition. And they said, look, Wayne, you've got a good track record in the industry. Don't you want to start a franchise with us, as an example? And took a long and hard thought because, when you're very set with the company, it's comfortable. Change it's difficult, and when you're doing well, why try to fix something if it's not broken?
Mm-hmm.
And thank God I did, So started with Sanlam in South Africa, started their franchise. And today, I own the biggest franchise for Sanlam nationally. I own multiple of their franchises. I got, like you said, about 300 staff, ranging from advisors to back office staff members. And like all the good things to come from there, Am I still growing? Is it something that's still, evolving? Absolutely. You never reach that, but hopefully one day I'll have 200, 2,000, 3,000 staff at the end of the day. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that sounds like incredible growth. 9 years, 300 employees. That's a massive accomplishment. It's quite admirable that you started the business in South Africa because it's not the most opportunistic environment, right? You've got a weak currency. You've got high crime rates, for example. Internet wasn't very strong there up until a couple of years ago. So can you run us through how difficult it was to kind of set up and run that business? I know you were starting a family at the same time as well, so you had a lot on your plate.
Absolutely. So for starters, what I did was when I actually, was recruited at Sanlam, I sat back one day and I was like, how the hell am I going to do this? What is going through your mind, Wayne? You've just left this to go to this. You just sit back and you think, you feel to yourself, what? This is how I'm going to approach it. This is what I'm going to do, And we started very small. Maybe 2 or 3 of my friends from the previous company moved across with me. And then we had to start hiring, because now all of a sudden, where your back office was sorted previously, when I say back office, like your staff members doing your paperwork, et cetera, we're like, okay, fine. Now we have to do this ourselves, but we need somebody to help us, We need our lead gen ourselves now, And we started out really, really, really small. And as your name in the industry goes about, people always ask, hey, Wayne, I hear you over here now, tell me more about it. And so more and more people started to join. And this was in Cape Town itself. So the business originated in Cape Town. And subsequently, in that time period, at the previous company, I was on a offshore trip because I won best advisor in Cape Town. And then you meet other guys nationally. And one of the guys of KZN, Ritesh Singh, which is today my business partner, he was also always like a mentor to me. And once I started at Sanlam, he was like, hey, you know what? Let's join forces and build this thing together. I want to retire with you. I'm like, fantastic. Let's go for gold. And him and I, from a business aspect, we've got very much the same mindsets, very good morals, values.
Nice.
And we also not very risk averse. Okay, sometimes it bit us, and we can maybe talk about that, but not very risk averse. We go in it hard, we go in it with conviction, and slowly started building an office in Cape Town where we recruited, 20, 30 advisors, got a full back office, got telesales to book appointments for the guys. Same got mirror image done in Umhlanga, in KZN, and as his business also grew, he's like, okay, fine. Now we can tackle Sandton as an example. And we built a business in Sandton. We've just started one this year in Pietermaritzburg. We've
Okay.
got one in Port Elizabeth. And we've got some remote offices everywhere. So, yeah, so from a small business, growing it, having all its complications in between, but also just that execution, and that drive that kind of brings you forth, and having a team that delivers on the same culture, your same way of thinking at the end of the day. Everybody's in a business to make money, right? And to look after their families. So, yeah, it got to that point, and where we, from a business aspect, saw opportunity in different market variables in South Africa. Just like you said, not everybody in South Africa is wealthy, right? Not everybody in South Africa can afford to invest R1 million, as an example. Now, R1 million to somebody in the UK might be a little bit of money, but in South Africa, it's maybe a lot of money to some people and some not. So we've then clustered out the business in different additional franchises to say, hey, let's look after your middle to higher income market, right? Let's look after your middle to lower income market. We've got different franchise, different product offerings for those guys. And let's look at your lower income market, which does your funeral cover and stuff.
Right.
Now, funeral cover in South Africa is something that's quite widely sold. It's something in Africa. Somebody passes on, we pay them money to bury their families. Now, in the cultures in South Africa, it's actually tradition to have it's a big event when somebody actually passes on. And we said, listen, if we can capture all the markets, then in good and bad times, people are still dying. Markets go up and down. People are still, if markets are down, people might not be investing. But then COVID happens, people want insurance, So we've structured the businesses to say we look after your short-term insurances. So meaning like your cars, your houses, all the materialistic things, like I say. Look after long-term insurances, protecting whether it's your life covers, your income protections, investments, whether it's your pension investments, whether it's medium to long-term, offshore investments, stockbroking portfolios. And then we go all the way down to mortgage origination, helping our clients buy and sell property internationally, funeral cover, and the lower things. So a full synopsis of if a client sits with one of our team members, that our company in some other way can sort you out with whatever your goal is, whether short, medium, or long term.
Okay, nice. Sounds like you've got a strong physical presence in South Africa, different regions.
Yes, absolutely.
And you offer quite a few different products as well, insurance for different things and investment strategies and
absolutely. So we've got look, and I feel the business has also been successful because we act out of honesty and integrity and due skill and diligence. Our clients are very happy with our returns because we deliver a good service, right? Our portfolio managers and people that structure our investments, including ourselves, always say we weren't bartenders yesterday and giving people financial advice today. Most of our guys, including myself, have got 2 degrees, a double honors, a master's.
Nice.
So the people that are dealing from our side have either got wealth of experience, 20, 30 years of experience, or well educated. So our team sits together and we work out strategies. If a client is low risk, medium to high risk, how are we going to structure those portfolios? And our clients have gotten really great returns, So, touch wood, we don't lose clients' money, but anything could happen in the market. If we have to, talk about Trump at the moment, the political environment in South Africa. I don't want to maybe talk about all the politics at this point in time, but that all has a big effect on our clients in South Africa, as an example. And hence why I've also stretched out to Dubai, is because I've got a lot of clients internally in South Africa dealing with, most of my clients are your higher net worth individuals. Okay, I don't classify a client because I feel every person that sees me gets the same service, gets the same Wayne at the end of the day. But a lot of my clients were moving monies overseas, whether it's Portugal for residencies and or Dubai or Mauritius, etc., etc. And I saw a gap and I said, hey, why can't I also assist these guys by investing their money whilst they're overseas? That we've already got a relationship, we've got trust. And this is the same that's happening sort of with my other advisors. I've got people working in different countries, helping South African clients all over the world now. And clients are happy. So because once you've got a relationship with somebody for many years, you don't really want to change. And if your portfolio is doing well, why change?
Yep.
So that's kind of the back end on that of me moving to Dubai. And we've got a wealth of assets under management.
There must be a great lifetime value for the customers that you bring on, right? They're with you for years, I assume.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's because that service is there. I believe in this is where a lot of people in business lose it totally.
Yep.
And I feel like, and I get this in Dubai as an example. A lot of people are there to hit and run, that hit and run feeling. And then a lot of people are selling with desperate hands. Now, a client already feels that, I actually had in the beginning when I started out the company, I would ask every single advisor to show me their saving statements, whether it's investments, etc., to see how much money they've actually saved up with the amount of money they've made, whether it's in assets or whichever the case. But I can never have one of my guys sell with desperate hands.
Nice.
Because you won't give the right advice,
Mhm.
and people are just there to make a commission, leave you destitute, and I would say, if I have to come back to the Dubai area, if we talk about property, I mean, you and I have both been contacted about property millions of times in our life. I don't know how my name's on all the databases, but it gets sold probably everywhere. They're there to sell your property. They badmouth the competition, which we never do, and they don't care what property you buy, because once you've made the sale, they just leave it.
Mhm.
And in my industry, or how I look at a client is, if he's given me money or bought an insurance product or something with me, why not make contact with him once a month or once a quarter? Or at least see him twice a year.
Yep.
Whether he gives you new business or not, you're building a relationship, because that guy is going to get older. Whether he's younger now and he's a junior engineer, he'll probably earn more money later. Whether he's close to retirement, he's age 50 now, in 10 years' time he's retiring. He sits with millions that he will invest with you just because you've been loyal to him, messaging him on his birthday, how are you doing, giving a good portfolio review, etc. And not that hit and run kind of mentality at the end of the day. So that's what we've kind of instilled in our business. Service comes first. Making money comes thereafter.
Nice. Yeah. You touched on two great points there. The kind of psychology and culture of the team you're building is quite important. When you get to 300 employees, that's on a massive scale compared to when you're a small firm of 10 kind of employees. What were the challenges there? How have you kind of structured that so that, like you say, when an advisor comes on, he's financially doing well, he's put savings away, so he's talking from a standpoint where he knows what he's talking about. He's not stressed about he needs to make the next sale, which makes all the difference when I'm talking to somebody of that kind of nature.
Absolutely. So to break the company up in our, call it administration staff and our sales staff. Sorry.
Nice.
We do not pay any of our sales staff a salary. Okay. Plain and simple, because there's an infinite amount of money to be made if you do the right job, if you follow the right lead, right? I believe, and this is something that from a cultural perspective is myself and my business partner, and call it our sub-business franchise that I've built into our business at the moment, is every sales manager must lead from the front, okay? I make sure that I achieve the biggest production in my company nationally, okay? I want some of my advisors to kick my ass, okay? I would love that.
Mm-hmm.
But I lead from the front because I'm in exact the same job as you, so that when you come back to me and say, hey, Wayne, some of my cases are not getting accepted, or what's your view? Are clients postponing meetings on you all the time and stuff? And I'm like, guys, I'm in the same game. These things are happening to me every single day, but this is what I'm doing to change this. So this is how much more effort I'm putting in to possibly change that. So from a cultural perspective is our management, including myself, leads from the top, leads from the front. We do the best in the company. Like I said, I want people to achieve what we can, what we achieve as well. So that would mean I've done my job well. Our advisors are doing exceptionally well. Okay, we've probably got, if from a junior advisor perspective, in the top 10 nationally in South Africa, 4 of the top 10 came from Berkshire Wealth. Nice. Okay, so we've got a good way of growing people mentally, physically, and empowering their families. Because we're a family business. From an HR perspective or a cultural perspective, we believe family comes first in every business, right? Many a times, if some of our staff are ill or their families are ill, we'll make contact. We'll go to the hospital. We'll send flowers. because that's the way of us doing business. We
Yeah.
and we at the end of the day, I feel like, and this is normal. You work how many hours with these people? They do become family of yours. You actually see them sometimes more than you see your own family. So it's good to have a vested interest in them. And with our administration staff, we don't really have much issues. Okay, I feel that we pay them well, we incentivize them well. They do their job because we feel like we want to always be the best in every caliber, from every aspect, right? And you can't always have that because it goes up and down. But I feel like we've got that there. We've got the best back office, we've got the best sales people, the best financial advisors, like I said, highly educated with integrity. But we've got a small belief, and I've actually got this in my staff's contracts, where I say, do everything in the best interest of the company with honesty and integrity, right? We've got a kind of like not to use but no bullshit attitude. If you go out partying tonight, I tell you, enjoy it. Go for gold, all right? If you don't come to work tomorrow because you got a hangover, call me and say you're got a hangover. Don't call me and say, oh, I'm sick, or my child is sick. Because now you're putting bad karma on yourself and your family, Just say it as it is. And I'll say, hey, go do an IV drip, come back in 2 days, but you owe me, And that's the kind of relationship we have with staff, So nobody kind of takes, when they give you the pinky, they take the hand. But again, like any other business, you do get poisonous staff, and you do get staff that have been there for years that understand that understand how our culture is fitting. But yeah, so those are like little things that we've done in the business, where most people that don't make it in our business actually work themselves out. They actually end up resigning, because I believe from a business aspect that nobody that works with me works for me. I hate it when they call me boss.
Right.
Hey, big boss or whatever. And I know they maybe make it as a joke and stuff. I'm like, no, I'm your colleague, right? You're not on the same level. We're doing the same thing. I'm not here I'm here to guide the business from the top. Absolutely. And I have to make those decisions. But I believe we all are here in the same place to do something for our families, right? So that's sort of where I coming from a cultural perspective to say nobody's bigger than the rest. And there's nobody that disrespects. There's no top advisor that speaks disrespectful to a younger advisor. Here to help each other, right? To be on the same wavelength, to build together at the end of the day.
Nice. So it sounds like you've built a great culture around the business. You can't get to 300 employees without doing that, right? To change direction a little bit, sounds like you're leading up sales for the companies. That's your strength?
So for most of it, I'm tagged as the CEO of Berkshire Group of Companies. So in many parts of the companies, just as one human, and there's 7 different companies, whether it's a consulting company or short term, and like I said, I can't be 100% involved in all of them, and hence why I've got, I would say, lead managers, or what they call them, principals in each business, right. And I've got sub-franchise managers in each business as well. So guys that want to start their own team, when your business gets to about 40 staff. And this is something also where, and this is very important for business owners. Everybody wants to hold on to everything.
Yeah.
And it's a big mistake that people make. And sometimes if I had to speak to my wife, sometimes, or somebody that's maybe not in business, she'll be like, but why are you doing this? Or why are you doing that? And if you look at all the if you look at a Fortune 500, how many directors and management staff, etc., there's tons of it, So you have to, myself and my business partner, we actually got to a point where we're like, we have to now start letting go,
Yeah.
And we give everybody in the company opportunity, anybody that wants an opportunity in the company to grow, to manage a team, to build, here's the opportunity, use it or lose it. We'll monitor you if you can't do it, because a lot of people that do sales can't manage, okay? And I've seen that now. There's some of the very special ones that can do both, okay? But it takes that time. So if you can't work, because in business environment, you understand, and this is for the listeners as well, there's no such thing as work hours, okay? I've actually had to restructure my life in such a way that I need to wake up at least 2 to 4 hours before my staff get into office.
Yep.
To start planning, right? And then when the day is over and they go home at 4:30 or 5, I'm still planning and doing stuff, and then 100 emails come in after 8 p.m. and you have to, so you have to have that structure. But to get back to the business as a whole, it comes with its tricks. But I feel that if you, I mean, just something that I always laugh about. When our franchise walks into Sanlam head office, as an example, now Sanlam head office, I mean, there's like 20,000 staff there and stuff. People can say that's Team Berkshire. The way we look, the way we talk, the way we present ourselves, everybody's like sharp as a tack. Everybody's looks like people want to give you their money, at the end of the day.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned letting go there. I think that's part of the business journey, right? When you're going from a small company to a medium-sized company, you can't look after everything. It is natural. You're a control freak. You want to look after everything. No one's going to do it as good as you, but you have to trust your staff to kind of take care of these things. With that, when you're going into a larger company, I assume you're looking at metrics of the company. How are sales doing? How are delivery staff doing? How are you managing all of that? Have you built your own systems around that, or?
So so kind of, out of how to say, trial and error. We've built our own systems whereby I've gotten to a point where all the sales staff, I will still have meetings with them, but I just can't get to all 300 in a month, as an example, right? So I want to know from my managers. So we've actually got what we call a supervision system. We don't deal in micromanagement. It's a very easy saying in our company that you're old and ugly enough to look after yourself. If you can't do that, then, become a cashier somewhere else or whatever. Please, nothing against cashiers. I don't mean it any bad. But I've got my management staff that have to go through certain metrics. I want to see how many what time are you spending on X advisor? What metrics have you got in place? Have you gone with him to see a client? Et cetera, et cetera. What reports do you have? So we've obviously got a reporting system, and then this must all funnel through to me on the top. And I'll have most of my meetings on a weekly or bi-weekly basis with my managers. And then when I'm in certain regions, I'll have one-on-one, even with my cleaning staff. Okay. Nice. So I go from a top down, bottom up approach. I don't believe in the whole, I need a bougie office. Like, I sit with my sales guy on the floor, Only thing I need an office for is for private conversation. That's about it. But otherwise, I'm in the floor. If I'm with my back office staff, and we order something to eat, we all sit and eat together in their office. I spend the day with them in the office. I can hear them. If the sales guys on the calls, booking appointments, I sit with them. Hey, you should say this or you should say that. So I'm kind of involved in it as much as I possibly could. But with me traveling a lot, I've had to let go. And I've had to leave responsibility to the managers and keep them, responsible for these things. So if something in your team is not happening, then I need to home into your team. And for the guys that, also in a way, when we have our national meetings, the guys that are doing it well, sometimes from my side, I try and pull back with what I want to say. Because otherwise it's always coming from Wayne. It's always coming from Mitesh, or it's always coming.
Right.
But why can't it come from another manager? Hi, Storm, what are you doing? Why is your team on 120% of target every single year, smashing it out the park? And then the managers can talk between each other and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've done. I've had to do an extra little bit of work like this with X advisor or X staff member for them to actually get over that line. So it's more where we all, again, from a cultural perspective, we sort of learning from each other, learning from each other's mistakes. Because there's lots of mistakes that I've made, but I've forgotten them already. Then I see, hey, manager made that mistake. And I'm like, I got you. There we go. Let's have a talk about that. Let's get that. So that's sort of the way that we've run it at the moment. And it's been going well.
Nice. Yeah. Going forward, how do you think tech and AI is going to affect your business?
And this is a very good conversation, right? This is a very good conversation. Because tech and AI, let's be honest, I mean, it's taking over the world, right? I mean, I did not, and your hand up, I did not even know how ChatGPT worked up until the beginning of this year, okay? Right. And I just tried it, and it's like amazing. And hence why, because my kids started using it, and they're like, hey, Dad, we can, type things out. And I mean, their emails and things look better than any other person, unless you've got some English degree with the vocabulary, etc. Very, very, very good. And I started using these things, and I realized, because end of last year, I was at an event. I'm talking about tech, and they were saying that AI is involving. I don't know the exact figures, but AI, let's say AI's IQ is at 200 at the moment. Every 6 months, the IQ doubles. So in 10 years, the IQ of AI is going to be way better than any IQ of a human being. It already probably is. Now, how is that going to help the business? And you start thinking of these things, and you say, okay, fine, I've got lead gen, I'm doing this, I'm doing X, I'm doing Y. And I kind of sit back and I smile at it a bit, because the businesses that I've kind of got into, it's not to say a robot cannot become a financial advisor, don't get me wrong. But people still want human interaction in my line of business, okay? If I deal with, I've got a lot of SA cricket, SA rugby players, some of the Kaiser Chiefs, the Mamelodi Sundowns, and big corporate guys. I can't ever see that guy drinking a glass of wine with a robot, and this robot, because the robot can spit out the figures and do it. But I feel that that's a human emotion attached to being financial advice.
Right.
Is it maybe safeguarding me against the future? Our business is implementing a tech solution whereby you could go onto the website and actually get financial planning done via AI. And maybe is it the Gen Z that maybe will fit in there? Or maybe Gen Z is going to realize later that maybe human interaction, because if we look at our kids now, they interact totally different.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to play PlayStation at each other's houses. Now they play it via a screen and, they LAN, or, like what we used to call back then, So world is different. Will my kids do it different? I don't know. Do I feel that I am AI proof? Not at all. But I do feel that clients will still want to speak to people, will still want to speak to human beings and have that interaction at the end of the day. And the businesses that I venture into, whether it is financial advisory, like I've told you, the blasting business as an example, it's kind of where, people do say, yes, AI is going to take the jobs of all doctors and all people. I want to go see a doctor and at least speak to the person and have a normal human interaction with the doctor, as an example. Or when somebody operates on me, maybe they have the doctor, but, there's currently machines are doing everything, But without humans, where's the world going to become? We're just going to be a robotic world as well, So it's kind of, we're getting there. It is scary. Because I feel like since COVID, boom, the world has changed. I mean, look how easy we can do business now. I mean, I can sit anywhere in the world and see my clients that sit anywhere in South Africa or anywhere in the world. I mean, I've got clients in Brazil, Argentina, US, the UK, all over Europe. We just click in, we have a chat to each other, just check each other's times, and the job gets done.
Yep.
So COVID was a good event that happened in life, I would say. I don't even remember pre-COVID. Feels like life just like reset and then COVID and going forward. But it was a good thing. But AI kicked off a lot since then. And I do feel that businesses, depending on your business and all business, have to get involved in AI. It is something that they have to bring in. But some thought that needs to be put in on how the AI is actually going to help your business going forward. And what group of people are going to use the AI functions of your business.
Yeah, it strikes me as something that might be an opportunity for you, as those low income kind of clients that want something a bit cheaper, where you could put up a website and AI does that whole kind of financial structure for them, and they pay a much smaller fee and you get a much larger user base kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the opportunity lies in the business. If you, please, not that I'm any boffin in doing the whole digital marketing and things like that. I've learned a bit. But if you run a website and you've got SEO on it and you've got a good AI feature for the younger generation, I feel like they just will pop in there, do their own thing. Because remember, and this is something that's also changed in the industry, is that clients and people are becoming smarter about it. I always, and this is something that resonates with me today. Back in the day, product providers, doesn't matter, I'm not going to mention any company names here, charge exorbitant fees to get a product. Right? Exorbitant management fees, exorbitant advisory fees. At the end of the day, the client makes 10%, he nets 4%. And the client asks you, Wayne, but why is my investments not growing? I'm like, let me go check the fees quickly, And I feel like the younger generation coming through, they want to kind of do things themselves. A lot of them going into trading. A lot of them are following financial markets, where a lot of us I didn't even know how financial markets worked when I was 18. Let's be honest. I was like, okay, it's there, the JSE or the NASDAQ. But the long and the short is people are becoming wiser on these things, because AI, they can type in anything and say, what is the average fee that you should be paying in South Africa for and the AI will kick out and say, this is probably the average fee. This is probably overpaying and underpaying. So people are becoming smarter. And I feel this way, using AI in the business, you can have a clean, crisp fee built in, super low. And what are you doing? Nothing. The person's going on there, buying their own life insurance product, buying their own investment. They've done their own advice. You've got no legal liability to him, because he's made his own decision of what funds to choose, as an example, which basket he's chosen, because they can get asked an array of questions, aggressive, moderate, or conservative, choose the fund, and there you go.
Yep.
So I feel that ease of business, it's already been evolving in South Africa. Right. I'll be honest with you. But I feel like people take a longer time to adapt to something, kind of like working digitally was a no-no.
Mm-hmm.
Now property companies are taking a beating, because no big corporates are renting big office space anymore. Which is probably one of the big bad business decisions I've made in my life.
You're renting office space.
Renting office space. And I mean, we're cutting down big time, because I feel like it's absolute waste of money. Right. People are working digitally. I feel that people listening to this should really look at renting big office space, because first of all, and this is probably one of the parts where I've had a downfall in business, or not a downfall, but like bad decision making, I feel, is pre-COVID, the business was running in a certain way, okay? And we old school, Yep. doing things old school way, and now digital has come in. But you've signed a 5-year triple net lease, and for those that don't know, corporate leases, you're in shackles. To get out of them, I mean, let's use a simple example. After COVID and things happen, and by the way, you have to pay your rent and stuff, otherwise they sue you, So COVID, we pay our rent, everything happens. And after COVID, I said, listen, guys, I've given you 3 years. I've got 2 years left. My one lease is actually expiring end of this year, and thank God. But, and we're like, hey, can we get out of this, and get somebody else to rent from us? Because when the sales guys sell this to you, they say, no, you can always move and we'll get somebody. Oh, no. I had to pay the 2 years rent to get out of it. That doesn't even make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. So it's those little things where I feel like in business as well, cut down on the cost, cut down on those overheads. I would way rather spend money on my staff,
mm-hmm.
increasing their salaries, giving them performance bonuses, keeping them happy, making them do their job, make other people rich, Buy a small office space yourself, Amount of money I spent in office spaces or renting office space, I could have bought mansions and converted them into office space. But that's a little, how do we say in life?
You'll learn it.
We'll learn it. Or we pay school fees, but in life, the school of hard knocks, and that's the kind of thing, you pay for your education, but the school fees in the business world, it can cost you a lot of money. So, consulting people on these things is probably the right way to go. Having a lawyer.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, you learn these lessons along the way. That's also another great kind of segue into what other challenges have you faced as you've been building the businesses?
I mean, if there's so many to run your head around it. Is you got the leases, hiring the right staff. Hiring the right staff. I feel like that is a big thing in today's day and age, and because let's be honest, when somebody interviews with you, they always give them their best self. How do they fit into your culture? So you kind of have to have your work's culture in alignment with who you're looking for to work with you. Because one poisonous apple in your office can cause 10 poisonous apples, can evolve the whole office into being poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
But you can never foresee this. But once you've you sort of got them, you can kind of feel in your instinct to say, listen, is this person only here, for what reasons, And it's by asking simple things. How's your family dynamics? I want to know how your social life is. Have you ever traveled? You would, and it's a big thing to me, because people that have just stayed in their little cocoon live in their little brain cocoon. If somebody's traveled, they've got a little bit more experience about life. How much has life taught you by traveling, seeing different cultures, different. Some people. It amazes me, and I think it's everywhere in the world. They're born in New York, they stay in New York. New York is New York. They don't go anywhere else. Kind of a thing. And that's the same thing in South Africa. They're born in Cape Town. They have not even been to Johannesburg. They have not even been on a flight, let alone. So how? And that's a big thing to me, because a lot of those people attract their own little mindsets. And those little mindsets can be poisonous to the other staff. So I try and see, how outgoing are they?
Right.
And in simple facts like, do you know this restaurant? Or do you know that? Or have you ever been to this place or that? So I can understand where you fit in, and, okay, you have done this, you have. Because that's also, because when you speak to clients, you can have a conversation with them about certain things in life. You don't just live in your home routine,
Yeah.
So those have been things that we've tried to ask questions. You never get it 100% right. And then once they're in the company, because of our culture, like I said, they work themselves out. We literally have conversations, and I always believe in this, is that I never let anybody leave my company with a bad feeling or a bad heart or anything, because there's never animosity. You've created your own animosity, right? And I will always give everybody a good reference. That's it. Because I believe that if you maybe didn't fit into our culture and worked with us well, maybe you can work with a different team well. Maybe a different team of poisonous people. I don't know. I joke about it, but maybe our culture wasn't, or our fitting wasn't, didn't sit with you. And I've never had to touch. You would have had to fire anybody, because that's not what I believe. They come and they resign, and we have a proper conversation, whether it's different sexes, different races, doesn't matter. Have a conversation, we shake hands, and we part, and everybody parts with a smile, and that's it, because again, even though you've become poisoned in the company, some part we were actually family, and that we've just created animosity. Yeah. So.
Yep. I think it's, when I hire someone bad, it's as much my fault as it is their fault, right? I didn't qualify correctly up to that point, but it's interesting as well, because we do software development, so it's quite different to you, but we'll also qualify based on, like, I'll ask them questions like, what does your cupboards look like? You know what I mean? So I can see if they're organized. They're software developers. They should think logically. Things should be organized well. Or what's your kind of routine, your daily routine? Do you have one? Or you just like wake up whenever you want and do whatever you want, kind of thing? Super important. And I don't think you can build a large team without qualifying and hiring the correct people and getting rid of the bad apples as soon as possible.
Absolutely. And sorry to interject you there. You hit the nail on the head there. The qualification is like we've also in our business set like a certain age category. We like somebody that has family responsibility at the end of the day. And this is nothing against anybody else, because I've got some that don't have any family responsibility, but they think mature, and are doing extremely well. But I want people to think that if I mess this up, I'm messing this up for my family as well. You get a lot of people that come in, and maybe new generation that come in, which is very difficult for us nowadays, because the new generation listen to many podcasts and listen to certain people speak, and they think that they can become millionaires off the cuff. If those guys are younger than, or girls are younger than 28, it's a very difficult decision for me, because I don't know. Some people are born with a golden spoon or not, or, it becomes very difficult to manage those people, where if you've got somebody that has got experience, obviously, and they're over a certain age and they've got responsibility, they fit in like a glove, it just works. The management style is easier, again, because we don't have the micromanagement of people. We don't do the whole micromanagement, but I feel like the new generation coming in, well, the world might be different. Maybe in your industry it could work, but I feel like in the world, the expectation is to be where you and I sit from day one, whereby they still need to put in the hard miles, and they haven't even started. Maybe fresh from varsity.
So you've mentioned a couple of different businesses. What else? I know financial services is the main one. What are the other arms of the business or the different businesses you're branching into at the moment?
So actually, recently we've started. So family members of ours, totally different. We've started a business called Afri Blasting Services. It's actually in the explosives industry, so totally different to finance. And what we do there is we basically get contractors in South Africa. We either blast parts of mountains or bridges, old bridges, for them to rebuild bridges, or trenches in grounds for them to do piping into low cost housing areas, etc., etc. So
Okay.
this business actually came across. My brother-in-law and I had a chat to father-in-law, and we put our minds together. Now, nice thing about the business is, and the nice thing about business is, once you've done one, you can kind of do many of them. Maybe I can't go into software development, but I can maybe be in sales of software development as an example. Because I haven't trained myself to do, whether it's the coding, etc., etc. It takes a skill on its own. But once you've got a business and an idea, and you've got experience within business, a few people can do what 50 people do. And sister-in-law, brother-in-law, myself, father-in-law, some other family, licensed explosive holders, more than 30 years of experience. They just kind of needed our guidance to get that business over the line, So we've got a good system in place because sister, brother-in-law, and myself, we all run businesses ourselves. So we're very efficient in getting things done. So what would take another business a week, we get done in a couple of hours because we've got the accounting operations. We know it. We speak. It comes second nature. So we've each got a little duty within the business, and then we've got our ground staff that do the physical work things. And that business has been going extremely well. I mean, we've got some really good invoices sent out, some really good business that has come in. And probably an amazing business that we've just started, super success within like 2 months of operation. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I think you mentioned the revenue's about $300,000. Do you mind sharing that on camera?
Yeah. So we've sent out revenue or invoices for jobs already for about 300,000, which we've got
In 2 months.
Within 2 months.
That's crazy.
So that's crazy.
Starting from nothing.
And started from nothing.
Yeah.
Started from nothing. Just putting people's ideas, having conversations, saying, how are we going to work together? And this is also one thing that, again, is that honesty and integrity that comes through with everybody. If you can do business honestly with every single person that you deal with, your business will be successful honestly all the time.
Yep.
Okay. And that's how we've, they always say, yeah, don't do business with family and but we all are honest with each other. Because none of us actually needed the money of this business, as an example. We just like, let's do this. Let's see where it goes. Because if we take a loss, whatever, life goes on. And how it's become a success. Because everybody in the circle trusts each other. If you want to see the bank account, yeah, I've sent you the bank account, everything, all the transactions, go have a look through it.
Yep.
There's nobody there to do anybody in or to, And our business, as within 2 months, I mean, we've bought vehicles cash. Because we believed why must we make debt if we don't need the money? We don't have to draw high salaries for what? We've bought our equipment cash. So now we're a cash run business.
Yep.
So every single new invoice that comes in, we've got everything going. Wow, now it's pure profit. All of a sudden, if you do $300,000 every single month, at the end of the year when everybody draws a dividend, happy days. Everybody's happy, life goes on. So, and it's just about understanding how each other work, respecting each other within business environment. And that's a very, very important part of business, as well as choosing your business partners properly.
Absolutely. You don't have that stress of I'm putting all this work in and they're kind of doing half jobs or quarter jobs.
Correct.
I know Kelvin and Dean as well, and they're super hard workers. I used to box with Dean years and years ago, and they've got a very successful business in South Africa as well with the laundromats.
Yes, absolutely. They are doing, for lack of a better word, they're printing money. You know what I mean? And which is, I love that. I love seeing people, and I'll get back to the partner side, but people in today's day and age look you in the eye and they say, congratulations, but behind they talk, crap it behind your back, I believe in a world of abundance. I want everybody around my seat to be super successful,
Yep.
right? And if you are not successful, and I mean, because I've got buddies that are not super successful, but they do their job, they're living happy and happy. You're a very good friend of mine, but I've only got a handful, because I want people around me to be successful. I want people, I've got extremely successful friends. And that's how people, success, and you rub off ideas, and you kind of like ask them different things in their businesses, because everybody has a different business, but people need to be successful. I mean, to talk bad about somebody behind their back, or, like that to be that, like a snake, I hate that, So when I see my family and friends doing well, I'm like, fantastic, guys. This is what life is all about, is for your family to do well and everybody to be successful, and that comes back to, I mean, Dean and Calvin and them, they started a business, once again, small, one laundromat, wash well, 2 machines. I mean, his dad bought their first machine from like Macro, from like with Carrefour,
Oh, really? Yeah. 20 years
not
ago.
knowing what he's doing, you know what I mean? And today they've got factories,
Nice.
they've got factories doing multiple hotels, they do reverse osmosis, they've got the whole thing, and that's another business that I've spoken to Dean about, for us to reciprocate what they've done in South Africa, in Dubai. I feel that they are probably one of the biggest laundromat businesses in South Africa today.
Yep.
And they've got, again, family in business, but they've each got their job. One runs operations, one does sales, and one kind of sees both of them, And that's sort of how things happen. If your business partners, whether it's families, brothers, sisters, I mean, things always go wrong, okay? No business runs smoothly. Things always go wrong. That's how you as business partners can sort this out.
Yep.
And this is in also just when choosing a business partner, you need to be like-minded, but you need to see where your business partner can help you in places that you lack as well, right? Another thing within business is being too risk averse. A lot of people go into business, right? And I've got some business partners that might be like that, and I have to tell him, hey, just hold on, it's going to be okay. But you can't go into business half-ass.
Yep.
You either do it 100% or you don't do it. There's no, for me, I don't have this in the middle. It's either you're going to put your money where your mouth is, take the knock if you do, or move on. And that's where I feel that entrepreneurs today, they want to start a business, they want to start a laundromat. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to start a business and be wise about spending money. Be wise about spending the money. Don't just blow money. Be buying bottles and taking clients out and spending thousands of dollars and you get no return from it, But they want to start out too small, but they have such a big a dream, So people, a lot of times, they start their business and they already think of the 10 years in the future, but they don't understand that 10 years in the future is going to give you the gray hair, the sleepless nights, and all the stress that goes in between that.
Mm-hmm.
But I always say that if you are investing money in a business, go balls to the wall, right? Depending on your age, it doesn't even matter. If you fail at 30, you've got 30 years to make up on that failure. You know what I mean? It didn't work. Go for it. Don't go half-ass into the job. Do it properly. Don't skim on paying somebody that you maybe need to pay a little bit more to get that job done properly, because you're going to or think that you're going to get the job done yourself. You're going to need people around you to get the job done. The more minds and hands put together, it's generated for success. Yes, you're splitting your money, but I'd rather split 10% of millions than have 100% of nothing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The people that I've spoken to on this podcast alone, the ones that have scaled quite quickly, have been taken massive risks. Sometimes they've come up to the first of the month and they're going to do salaries on the 10th. They don't actually have any money in the bank account, but then they're making $500K the next month. You know what I mean? At 22 years old.
Absolutely. That's it. And that's the cycle of business, isn't it? I've had them plenty of times. I mean, I can't even count on my hands how many times that's happened when we're like, oh, here we go, because these things happen. I mean, let's take COVID as an example. Business shut down. South Africa was super locked down. We were seen as an essential service, but with financial markets going crazy, with things happening in,
No
and this is where I talk about in good times and bad times, you need to know what to do. And everybody's stressing, staff are stressing because, I mean, you still need to pay these guys. I can't say it's COVID, guys, I can't pay, no revenue coming in, unfortunately. And I just said, hey, guys, listen, people are scared of dying. Increase everybody's life insurance, etc., etc. We were the highest sales in Sanlam's history in those times in COVID,
Really?
But after 2 months of adapting, okay, so yes, we had to get financing, but those sales covered the financing again. Everybody was paid. Not one of my staff, not one of my rentals, not one creditor in our business was not paid in those times, And those are we use many of those examples where you have to help and guide your team from a mindset, which I said in the start, from good times and bad times, and get them evolved from a mental aspect as well.
Great. Thanks so much for doing this today, Wayne. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
It went quick.